Yeah.
But well, more of a Sean,
Oh, my
where the
goodness.
fair or at a dance?
At a dance.
At a
No,
dance.
not at a dance. A bunch of us girls had gone to Summerswood on a Saturday afternoon to go bowl. We always went Saturdays to go bowling in Summerswood. And we
Living
came-
at the orphanage? You were
when-
living at the orphanage?
No, no.
Okay,
We were living with Bid Winkley.
okay.
Yeah. And we had taken the bus, and the 6 guys from Summerswood, which your father was one of the guys, hopped on the bus because they were coming to Rochester to go to the dance. We used to have a dance place over Fernald Hackett's. Do you remember that, Janine? Yes?
Yeah.
The rendezvous.
Yeah, the rendezvous.
The rendezvous.
I don't know.
They were all going there to dance, and all the guys were talking to us from Summerswood, you know, except your father. He was sitting on in the front seat, never paid attention to nobody. Was all by himself, smoking a cigarette, you know. And I said to one of the guys, "Who's that nice-looking guy there that's all by himself?" They said, "Oh, that's Val Ashon." They said, "We're all going to the dance." So us girls, when we got off the bus, we ran home to take a shower and dressed up, and we were going to the dance because I wanted to meet that nice-looking guy. Running after the boards. And we went to the dance, and all the guys that were with him asked me to dance, except your father. Never asked me once to dance with him, and I kept saying to the guys, "Where's that nice-looking guy? You know, we're only dancing around, you know." A year after, I met him at the Rochester Fair, which is like this week. He was with a couple of guys. He was in the service then in his uniform. And we were a bunch of girls again, and we all said hi, Summerswood, because we knew the other guys, you know. So they stopped and talked, you know. And we were talking, and your father took out his wallet, and he took a little picture out of his wallet, and he handed it to me. He was dressed up as a soldier, you know. And I said, "Well, thank you." You know, I put it in my pocketbook. One of my girlfriends was so mad because he didn't give her the picture. And because she thought he was so handsome, you know. And I said, "Well, if you want his picture, I'll give it to you. See, it means nothing to me right now. It's only a guy I met, you know." No. And that girl used to board with your Aunt Teresa and me at the same place. She came from Canada. She hardly spoke any English. It was all French, you know. So anyway, he came home. That was in September. Then he came home in December on a furlough for 1 week, which was the week of Christmas. And we went out three times that week together. We stayed over to Beard's a couple nights, and he took me out to the movies one night, you know. And in February, I got a phone call from him proposing to me.
Supposed to you over the telephone?
Over the telephone. "Come on down, we're going to get married." And I said, "Okay."
And he was where?
He was in Virginia.
Where in Virginia?
Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah. And I said, "Sure, I'll pack my suitcase tomorrow morning. I'm on my way." "Don't forget, bring some money." Because he was flat broke, you know. So I went, I had money in the bank a little bit, and I went and drew all my money out, you know, and it was in February, and we had a big snowstorm. And you know where we lived on North Street, I mean, we had to get to the main street, we had to walk. The snow was up to my knees. I had great big galoshes that went to my knees in the snow. And the taxi cab couldn't come in the road because it was not plowed yet. So I had to walk to the end of that street with a suitcase and everything, you know, to get on the... I took the bus from Rochester to Dover. Then in Dover, I bought a ticket on a train to go to Boston. And when I got in Boston, I had to buy a ticket to go to New York City. And the guy looks at me and he says, "Are you running away from home?" I says, no, I'm going to get married. He says, are you sure? I says, yes, I'm sure, you know. So anyway, I got to Virginia, and it took a couple of weeks before we got married because I was born in Canada, and they had to have proofs of my birth certificate. So I could not get a hold of anybody in Canada, so I had to write to Berlin, to St. Anne's, for my records, you know. And of course, they didn't have any records of me being born because the place had burned down and everything was all burned. But they did send me a paper all in French, you know, when I was baptized and all this and that. And at least the priest took that. And we made a date to get married in Virginia, and there was only 5 people in the church. There was the priest, the altar boy, your father and me, and Uncle Roland and Aunt Teresa. We were 6. That's all. The church was all empty.
Yep.
So when we came out of the church after we were married, when they had some pictures taken, and then he had to go back to the base, you know, to put in his day's work. And we stayed together, I think it was 4 months. Then he was transferred to Spokane.
Oh, what?
Yeah, he was transferred there, and he only had 4 months left to do in the service. And they transferred him there, and he said, there's no need of you coming with me because the weather's not good over there in Spokane, Washington. Very, very foggy and rainy and all this and that. And he says, I want you to go live with my mother and father. And I didn't even know those people. I had never met them. So I says, okay. I wanted to go back where we were living over to Dinwiddie. I would have felt freer. But no, and he insisted I went and lived with his folks. Well, okay, I went and lived there for 4 months, and they were the most miserable 4 months I ever lived in my whole life. I mean, it was just horrible. His mother was not friendly, and she kind of opposed me being there, you know how she was. And all his sisters and brothers that were still at home were not that friendly to me, so I would get up in the morning and I would wash up and dress up, and I would get out of there. I would go walk in the streets. People probably thought I was a street person, but I was out all day on the street.
Yeah.
And I had a few pennies in my pocket. I was paying, Val was getting $50 a month for me. And I used to give it to his father for my board and room. So I didn't have much money, you know. And once in a while I'd stop in the store and I'd buy a piece of pastry. You know?
Yeah.
So, because I was hungry, you know, I never ate over at his house.
Oh, really?
No, never did. No, because I didn't feel free enough, and they didn't make me feel free. So I didn't feel that, you know, I should eat there, even though I was paying $50 a month, you know. But then when he came home in December, we had gotten a little apartment, a cute little apartment, and we had bought furniture, 3 rooms and a bath. Then I was pregnant for Connie, and while I was in the hospital having Connie, he emptied the whole apartment. He didn't want to stay there. When I came back, I had to go back and live to his folks again, which I was not too happy about that, but I put up with it. And his mother did not allow me to wash Connie in the kitchen, because she says, it smells baby. You know, I mean, you know, you powder a baby, you know, and you wash him and powder him and all this and that, but his mother opposed. So I used to have to wash her in the bedroom on the bed. You know, that's how miserable she was to me. But I never said a word. I always respected her because that was her house. And I mean, I would have never done anything. And the only time I would go in the fridge there was to get Connie's milk when it was time for her to be fed, you know, because they kept the formulas in the Frigidaire.
Was Val with you there at the time, or did he go back in?
He was with me then. No, well, after I had Connie, he was out of the service.
Oh, he was on.
He was out of the service. He was working.
So he was living at home with you?
Yes, he was working, yeah. He had gotten a job, the same job at the shoe shop,
Oh, yeah.
Summerswood Shoe,
Yeah.
when he came out. But he didn't know all of that was going on because I never said anything to him.
No.
Never said a word to him.
Yeah.
He didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So one night he says to his mother, would you take care of Connie so I can take Marie out to the movies? She's been in the house, you know, and she says, look, I have 8 kids and nobody babysat for me, so she can find her own babysitter. The father overheard her say that, and he says, you take her to the movies, I'm going to take care of that baby.
Hmm.
And he's the one that took care of Connie while we went to the movies. I mean, the father was very good,
Yeah.
but the mother was something else, you know. But I never said anything. Never said anything to him. It's his mother.
Yeah.
You can't do that, you know. But I was miserable.
We know that your life with Val was a wonderful life, and we know that
Oh my goodness,
two
you
of you
can ask
spent
for better.
65 years together.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, yeah, we were in love, we were friends, we were buddies, we were everything together.
I want to take the last few minutes that we have here. We've only got just a few minutes left, and I just want to talk a little bit about Uncle Rainey's life, because he married Doris Main, and they had 3 daughters. And I want to talk a little bit about Uncle Joe, because he married Evelyn, and she was from Texas, I guess,
Yeah.
wasn't she?
Yeah.
And they had 4 children. So
And I had 2 boys and a girl.
you had 2 boys and a girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Ron and Dave and Connie.
right.
Constance being the oldest, Dave being the youngest.
Don't ask me the grandchildren, I don't know
There's
how
too
many I
many
have.
of them.
Oh my
Too
goodness,
many
I
of them.
must have at least 6.